Is your heart hurting and there just doesn't seem to be anything that warms it and comforts it? I want to share a story with you today of the day when my father-in-law, every time my husband would talk to him, he would say, "Tell Anita that I love her. Tell Anita that I love her," every time. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, thanks, honey," But one day, I had a really bad day at work, and I was down, and my heart was hurting. And I came home from work, and my husband said, "Oh, I talked to my dad today. He said to tell you that he loves you." And that went straight into my heart like an arrow. I have difficulty describing it. It went in, and I felt it. I felt his love. And he's been saying that on the phone to Steve for 10 years. As long as we've been married, every time Steve calls his dad says, "Tell Anita that I love her." But it had never gone into my heart like it did that day. And so, it had gone in a little bit before, but not as deep and as warm. And it just filled my whole heart from how it was aching and hurting that day. It just filled it and warmed it and comforted my heart so much that I thought, you know what? I have to call your dad. I was crying because it ministered to me so deeply. And so I called him, and just to thank him, just say thank you for loving me. Thank you for saying that you love me and that it really went to my heart today. And then I start crying, to my father-in-law. How embarrassing is that, right? And he gets up out of his chair and he goes to a private room in his house where he lives, and he's like, "I'm here. I'm listening." And I'm just crying and crying, and he's like, "What's going on?" So I just said, "I don't remember exactly." I told him I had a bad day or something. And he's like, "Well, we love you. Everybody loves you." And he's like, "So-and-so loves you." And I'm like, "Nuh-uh. No, they don't. They're just being nice. They're just being polite. That's, no." He's like, "Anita, yes, they do." And I'm like, "No, I don't believe it." And see, that's been the problem all my life, is I don't believe that people love me. I think they don't like me. I think they wish I wasn't around. And I've struggled with that my whole life. But when I felt his love, I had to tell him thank you. And so what happened after that was, after we hung up, I could feel him praying for me. I could feel him and my mother-in-law. They said a special prayer for me, and I could feel something was going on. That happened on a Friday night, and all through the weekend, I could feel something going on in my heart. And by the end of the weekend, I felt like there was this glass, strong fortress of a wall around me that came down and opened me up to being able to receive someone's love and not say, "No, it's not. No, you don't." And people would say, "I love you." I'm like, "Okay, thank you. I love you too." But I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. I couldn't receive love because I didn't feel worthy, or that anyone could possibly love someone like me. And that is the way God touches us. His word, when he says he loves you or he does something special for you, that's what it feels like. It feels like that warmth soaking into your soul, into your heart, comforting you, ministering to you, making you feel the love and comfort that he has to give to you. And that's why I call them touches of his love, because that's what he's been doing for me since the day my husband died. And I woke up to find him dead. And I couldn't cope with that pain. And so I just kept going to the Lord that night and over and over and over through the months and years. And he did so many things. And my father-in-law's example, what he did, always saying, Anita, I love you, is one example. Just one out of hundreds, if not thousands of times. I've gone to the Lord and said, I can't handle this anymore. Please, can you send me a touch of your love today? I just started calling, you could call it, I need some grace today, or I need help today. It doesn't matter what the wording is. And I just began calling them touches of his love, because it went so deep into my heart and would minister to me in that moment. I may hear a song on the radio and it would just touch my heart. I could see a sign on the side of the road and I'm like, oh my gosh, it would touch my heart. What was on that sign, what it said, or the picture on it, or something. I could be reading the Bible and something I would read would touch my heart. It's not just the knowledge, it's touching your heart. And that's what it is, like a parent-child relationship, where you don't just raise them, you spend time talking to them personally. And that touches their hearts and builds that relationship. And even if you haven't had that kind of relationship, like I didn't have much of that at all, but the Lord is willing to give you that relationship. He is willing and wanting to break through all the sorrow and pain and defensiveness that you have. If you have that wall around you that you can't receive love, or you can't receive encouragement, you just think people are just being nice, they really don't like you, if the truth be told, let alone love you. So whatever it is around your heart and in your heart that is aching and hurting and lonely and afraid. Sorry, I'm so emotional, but God's love, God's love, He wants to touch you with His love. He wants to minister to you, and trust me, I know from experience, He's willing to do it over and over and over and over again. Every day, He's willing to minister to you and comfort you and be in your heart with you, so you're not alone and so you're not always hurting. So I just wanted to share that with you today. Love you much. Receive His touch. And remember, you are loved.